guys, we're going to go through monocots today. Remember, monocots and dicots are the two major groups that make up flowering plants or angiosperms. And so we are going to talk about monocots. They are the oldest of the angiosperms, so that means they're found first in the fossil record dating back past the Cretaceous period or 80 million years ago. They have parallel veins within their leaves. They will have one seed leaf, hence monocots or monocondyles or condyle leaves or seed leaves. And they have flowers in groups of 3. So the first flowering plant that we're going to talk about, or family, is going to be our orchid family. And orchid families date to the late Cretaceous period, about 80 million years ago. We found them in amber dating, which means they were found in a piece of amber that was fossilized. They make up plants such as our vanilla beans. Orchids are not found in cold climates. They're found in temperate climates, and they like to grow along with trees. They use both mammals and birds to help pollinate them, and so they're very specific to their pollination or their pollinator, such as we already know that most flowers develop or co-evolve with some type of pollinator. And so these guys are really pretty, found in tropical areas or warm areas, and they usually have some mycorrhizae or fungi symbiotic relationship with them. Again, a vanilla bean would be an example, and the plant that we had in my room. And so this is a picture of our orchids right here. They're beautiful, aren't they? And you can see 1, 2, 3 leaves with that orchid. And so that's an example of an orchid right there. And again, you can see those sepals. Again, that 1, 2, and 3 leaves with that. So then let's go back up here to our next family. The sedge family is a waterland plants. They're specifically to resemble grasses. And so with the sedge family, these would be like our water chestnuts. Their pollination is not necessary. They have about 4,000 species of these plants, and they're very common in areas that are wetlands or marshlands. And so we would see those type of plants when we look at, like, say, our cattails would be part of that family. Then we have our grass family. It's about 20% of all vegetative lands on Earth are composed of grasses. And so that's really necessary to know. About 70% of our crops planted are grasses. This would be our wheat, corn, and rice. This is a huge cash crop. We will use grasses such as bamboo, which are sustainable, to make houses, cutting boards, to paper. And so this is really an important species for us to have on our planet because they've actually co-evolved with large mammals, and so they're open for open grazing. Now, grasses are very specific to the area in which they were native to. So we actually have grasses. If you notice right now, it's starting to get green outside. These are not necessarily all native grasses that are coming up. Some of these are invasive species, such as Kentucky bluegrass, which is an early bloomer. And then we have our native South Dakota grasses, which will be starting to come up in later May. They wait for the warmer seasons to come up, and we actually have grasses that will sprout through different times of the year, so they do not compete with each other. Grasses will also have a seed, which makes a kernel. This is their fruit, such as a corn kernel, rice kernels, wheat kernels. They will have a very elongated blade to them. And so grasses are really important. They usually use a wind dispersal, but they have evolved for large pollinators. These guys will also have runners that will come off for this too. And our picture at the very beginning was of a grassy plain, and that is our grasses. And so when we look, here's our picture of our sedges right here. And so let's go down and look at a picture of our grasses. This is a beautiful picture of grasses. If you can see here, this is the blade that's forming at the stalk. This is bamboo. We can see that becomes very useful. The stalk of that is very hardy. We can see that the flowers for this are not really large flowers, but very small flowers. Here's wheat here for this one. So we can see that the flower is very small. Really important that this grain is collected for use. So let's go to our next plant. So these are arums. Arums are very unique. They have like a club-like or bare flowers. These flowers are called spadix, and then they'll have a very dramatic hoodie leaf. These are a spadix. These really are kind of very ornamental for the fact that they are very beautiful. A calla lily is an example of that. These are typically tropical or household plants. They're very fun to have. So if we go down here, we can see a wonderful picture of these guys right here. Here's our arums. If you can see this hood that I was talking about right here, that's that hooded leaf. That again is called the spadix. And then this beautiful flower that's on the inside here, that is the spadix. And so that's what we're talking about in spadix. And then this is the spadix right here. And those are those flowering. So we can see that hood here, flower in the center. And so hood, flower in the center. And so they're a very pretty flower. They're more ornamental. Again, calla lilies are this. Our duckweed becomes into this. And so they're very, very pretty flowers are these arums. And then we have our magnolds. So our magnolds are characterized, they are both a monocot and dicot, just so that we know that they're in both. The early angiosperms are our magnoliads. And so this is like your cinnamon bark, your peppercorn. They have shrubs and trees that are involved with this. Oh, I got to go down so you can see a picture. Oh, right here. And so if you can see our cinnamon bark, our peppercorns, this is an avocado. Our magnolia trees, which produce this beautiful flower, hence the name magnold. It's just about 2% of all flowering plants are classified as magnolds. And so they're a really, really beautiful flower, and they're very useful for spices and fruit. So they become a very wonderful cash crop for us. And so that would be our monocots. Remember, monocots, if we start looking at these, they do have a flower, groups of 3 parallel veins, and they only have one seed leaf, or monocondyle, one seed leaf.